What's going on, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with another haul video. I am, as you can see, not behind my Monopoly board nor my comic book wall, but did have some time here in the hotel room to go ahead and show off some of my findings. So I made a trip to Huntsville, Alabama this week and for work. And so, as I am apt to do, was able to hit up some comic shops the other day with Big Will. I bought some books from him and was able to meet up with him and visit those comic shops and also pick up my winnings. So it was really great. Big Will was a nice guy. And the other day when we were on BLC's live stream, he mentioned that he had these books, and I had these books, but wanted to do some upgrading. I want those books, so it worked out really good. And so hopefully some people got some good deals. Visited a couple of comic stores. There was one that was on the list. Unfortunately, the Corona got it, and I know I said non-Corona related musings in my live stream title, but it was non-Corona in the sense that I was not able to visit those comic shops because of Corona. So anyhow, let's dive into some good comic book findings. So mixed in with this is a nice copy of classic Uncanny X-Men number 266 and first appearance of Gambit. And a really clean copy. I believe he said that he had cracked the case and this was graded at a 9.2. So provided the Huntsville con goes on and the world doesn't fall apart with this coronavirus, I plan to get Chris Claremont to sign that and get that slabbed. So really good. Batman 91, picked this up at the LCS and really digging this story. I think Tinian's really taken it in a good direction there. Some decent art in the inside. Also picked up Deceased Unkillables, number 2 of 3. I opted for this cover. I did like the other one, which was an homage to some movie cover, but I'm not really sure which one that was. But anyway, so I like this cover. I'm a Red Hood fan. Liking the story. I only read the first issue of Deceased, and come to find out this is not the sequel, but really liking the story. Undiscovered Country number 5. Been picking this up. I got originally the Comic Tom 101 version of the first issue, and so I'm a fan of Charles Soule and also Scott Snyder. Not a big fan of this art, but a fan of those two as writers. Tom's Comic Books and Review. Thanks for stopping in. Just sitting there showing off some of my comic book findings in the last couple of days. So not a big fan of the art, but trying to trudge through the story. I understand that I get all that, but I might pick up the next issue. I might not. All right, Star Wars number 4. Been liking this. Really wasn't on the bandwagon when Star Wars was taken over by Marvel. Used to always pick up everything, the Star Wars Dark Horse universe back in the day. Really liked the Legacy series, which was for those of the better X-Men titles. So Domino, if you'll notice on this cover, this is not a cover that after the last X-Force issue, she died, and so she's been reborn, and so she's all better now. And it seems like that's fixing to come to an end. Just reading the other X titles, Kitty Pryde has not been resurrected. They're having issues with that. I'm a Valiant fan, and so this Visitor comic kind of intrigued me a little bit. Got to about last issue, and I said, okay, I'm off. And my LCS put this in the box for me. I was not really wanting to pick this up anymore. It is a mini series, and I'm kind of a completist when it comes to stuff like that. So I might trudge through the next 2 issues. I might not. So stopped at a local comic shop in Decatur, Alabama yesterday. Mostly a new comic shop, but they did have a dollar bin and was able to rummage through that and picked up Oblivion Song number 18. Big fan of that series. Originally started out on the trades, and now I get all the floppies. And so if I can go back and pick up the floppies, I'll generally do that just to make my set complete. Because again, I'm a kind of a completionist. Back in the day, I was a big fantasy guy. Used to play Magic, Dungeons and Dragons, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know why I never really got into Conan. It's really beyond me. I don't know how that happened, but nevertheless, no, this is not a very old comic, but I picked it up in the dollar bin. Conan Serpent War #1. It's kind of interesting. I might go back and try to find the other ones in that. I believe it's a mini series that's over now. Also picked up some Highlander. There can be only one. Well, that's talking about them, and depending on which movie it is or which storyline it is, as to whether or not there can be only one. But in issue 11. So really dug that storyline. So these I picked up, and so these are going to be on sale. Then I'm not sure when I'm going to have a sale, but if you watch my video out, okay, where do I go from here as far as my comic book collecting and that type of thing, you saw that. I'm trying to cull the herd, so to speak, to kind of focus my energies on certain series and, things like that. So I did pick this up. This is the first appearance of Ninja K or Ninjak, depends on what era of the Valiant realm you read. And so its first appearance. And so I will be selling that. Also picked this up, Red Hood and the Outlaws 26. This is a Yasmin Putri cover. I believe I pronounced that right. Really cool looking cover. I'm going to sell this on the cheap when I do an auction as well. So this is one of the things I picked up from Big Will, Newton's 87. This is the reprint, of course. And picked up a real nice copy of the original one on a 9.6. I originally had an 8, so this was a big upgrade for me. You can really tell this one appears a lot crisper. The other one I had was a CGC case too. Really slight non-color breaking spine ticks on the set. I thought about getting it signed and cracking and getting it signed. I don't know. My luck, I'll pull that out and those ticks will break color and it'll go from a 9.6 to something less, but we'll see. So an 8 to a 9.6 was a big upgrade for me, and that worked out good. Also picked up from Will a Cable #1, which I had, but this one is signed by Art the Bear, and so don't have one of his signatures, and got the COA on the back there. And also got these. It was kind of a deal, but I'm going to sell these. Also picked this up in the dollar bin, X-Men Gold #4. I've had a couple of occasions with mystery boxes and the like, picking up a couple of X-Men Gold series. I was not a fan of the X-Men Blue, so I might end up picking the whole run up if I can get it on the cheap. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and TMNT. These are two properties that back in the day that I adored an awful lot. I mind to pick up a love for them in the comics, so it was like kind of separate. I like comics and I like that. So listening to Two Brothers Comics and probably Burke Family 54, I've started reading this and really like it. Too bad it's fixing to come to an end. And I'll tell you what else I like about Boom Studios, even though there are $3.99 just like Marvel or DC, it just seems like the page and the cover quality is better, especially Marvel. Picked up 1 and 2 on the cheap the other day, and enjoying some 90s nostalgia and some Jim Lee goodness, at least when it comes to the art. And picked up that one. Picked up Killock #2, and I'm going to have to go back and get 1 and 3. I think actually came out this week, but it seems to be an interesting series, and I got that on the cheap. X-Men Gold #2 on the cheap. Pay no attention to that sticker. Must have been what it was at one time. Also, Death Blow #1, really good Jim Lee, cool looking cover. You got to turn it a certain way to be able to see it there. There you go. You can kind of see it. 3 or 4 of them in there, I think. So went to a comic store called The Deep today. Also a 2nd and Charles, and a store called Nostalgia Overload, whatever it is. And so got a bunch of stuff on the cheap there. This is pretty much a cover buy alone, and that's Uncanny Avengers #14, Ryan Stegman. So I'm a Cable fan, so I picked that up at 2nd and Charles. So word to the wise, with an open coat next to you. So I'm driving down the road in unknown territory, which makes it even worse, and I hit the Coke. It spills all over. So I think the comics are okay. Hope they were. If they're not, hopefully I'll one day learn from my stupidity. And they say not to text and drive. Hey, don't organize comics and drive either. But when I go to a lot of stores, I want to try to, in between stores, enter that stuff in, because, and I think there's not that many of those. I'm going to probably get those because I've picked up a bunch of them today on the cheap. Issue #8. This is at 2nd and Charles. Alrighty, and then we got Jim Lee Wildcats #4, and it is still polybagged, and it has a card. You know, the gimmicks of the 90s. So not sure whether or not I'll work up enough nerve to open that. So Cable #24. This is volume 2, when him and Hope Summers were being chased by Bishop through time before she came back and the mutants started all over again. And that's #11. Let's see here. Got #19. And #20. Also picked up Astonishing X-Men #7. No, I really don't plan to collect this series. I just have a couple that were around the same number deal, and so wanted my stuff to be like 1 3 #7. Some magic or demon child or whatever she was going by at that time. Goodness. Now, I was able to, when I went to the Deep, it's good that I have a wish list now that kind of keeps me on the straight and narrow, as opposed to go, oh, look, a squirrel, and jumping back and forth, because the Deep is deep full of comic books. And so I was able to pick up a lot of the Valiant 90s Valiants that I have been working on. It's not that they're that rare. The deal in the wild they are, but you can get them online, of course. But there's that shipping, and so it's like, man, I want that book to complete the set, but I really want to pay that. And people online sometimes can think their stuff's worth $1 million, and then you top shipping on top of that. It's just not worth it to me. So I kind of wait and just, as I go through, try to find things on the cheap in the wild. Batman, he was out of the Matina covers, but had plenty of cover A. When I went to the Deep today, they had plenty of these, but not cover A. So I guess it's just a regional thing. Nightwing #70 is, I think, the kickoff to the Joker War. I'm not really a Nightwing fan, whether he's Dick or matter to me, but I do like the Joker, and I think some people are actually specking on this. Punchline might be in it, and it was the only issue they had left, and I go, go ahead and swipe that up. Fallen Angels #6. Wanted to get this when it first came out. Really liked these Dark Phoenix covers, and this was one that I had not been able to pick up there. Been hearing some good things about Stealth. I believe it came out last week, and it's about Alzheimer's guy, and he's trying to overcompensate. So I've been hearing some good stuff, so I decided to pick it up too. Hopefully everybody, whether you're watching this now, whether you're watching it in the future, everybody's staying corona free. And so if you're fortunate in the media, and get out and see some comics. So Bloodshot number 42. This is from volume 1. And so these are part of these that I got from the Deep. See, I paid $2.50 for it. And so that was good. Number 45. Number 43. Number 46. Number 48. And number 49. And so I only need 2 more issues. It's 50 and 51, which were 51 was last issue of that volume 1 series, and I'll have the whole set of Bloodshot volume 1. Bloodshot Rise to complete that. Of course, back in the 90s, Magnus, the robot fighter, was part of the Valiant universe, and so I've gotten most of these. This is issue number 62. Number 50. So I actually only need 1 more of the Magnuses to complete that. Also, I've never been a big fan of the annuals, but I am a completist. And so I am only needing 2 Uncanny X-Men in order to complete my volume 1 set. And so I'll have volume 1 through 549. And so I wanted to go ahead and get all of the annuals. I already had most of the volume 1 annuals, but I said I was going to go ahead and pick most of them up. Most of them aren't that expensive. Picked that one up. They didn't call it an annual back then. They called it a special, but some 25-cent goodness right there. And kind of a mid-grade copy, but it is there. Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk. Throw it in with a little Deadpool. Makes it even better. That's Cable number 13. So, the nostalgia place, I picked up Batman 675. Amazing Spider-Man, some Jim Lee goodness. I believe this is in the Hush era. Yeah, it's during the Hush storyline. So 614. Punchline before they got to it. But Batman 617. So also Astonishing X-Men number 1. Told you I was needing some all around here, so I would be a completionist, and that was kind of a cool cover there. Thought I really looked up and found a gem, a diamond in the rough. But Jason, you got to check your stuff. Don't get so excited and go, oh, let's go check out. But Astonishing X-Men number 4. I believe this is the first appearance of Abigail Brand, or Sword, which is kind of being spec'd on because it's part of the whole MCU deal. And this is where Colossus comes back. And so it's only $2. And so I said, oh, sweet, I have found a good book, because this is about a $20 book at least. And then I noticed when I got to the car, not for resale. Oh, it's kind of like the people that tear the tags off the mattresses. How dare they? They said not for resale. But no, seriously, this is a Marvel Legends reprint. Not sure what action figure this came in, but originally this was X-Factor 26. This is part of the Messiah Complex. Some David Finch goodness right there. Mainly a cover by. I'll get around and reading the story through all the way one day. Uncanny X-Men. This is volume. This takes place right after Avengers, and this is X-Men, where Cyclops is kind of on the lam. The people like Magic and Magneto are with him. And I've seen this cover a bunch of times, and I've started to pick it up and never did. So it worked out good for me because I picked it up for $2. Then we got number 3. Quattro. This is Uncanny X-Men Volume 4, number 5. So this is a Greg Land cover, and Colin Bunn was the guy that was doing it. I haven't really read that much of Colin Bunn's stuff. I read Dark Ark. It was okay. Not a really big fan. I know he does some Shadow Man stuff. So it's a Valiant guy, but I never was a Shadow Man fan. So here he is, right up in the mix of my wheelhouse with Uncanny X-Men. I've read this story before, and so it was okay. But I am not a fan of Greg Land. I know somebody, like there's only one. There's people that like his work and each their own. I've just never been a big fan of his. And so this is simply a completionist issue. It is not anything else. And also, as I mentioned before, X-Men Gold. Got it for $1. Make ya holla. So picked up a bunch of stuff. So as soon as I'm thinking, man, because I pulled out 100 plus comics that I'm going to be auctioning off on today. You notice that somebody in the chat came up with the idea of having like this big giant Corona con. JD from Discovery Bay came on, and he was getting things together. So I think it's going to be a thing happening next weekend. But maybe I'll jump on there on one of the people's channels and get rid of some of my stuff there. Most of those items, and maybe add to your collection. Maybe there's some things that I don't need anymore, but that you need. So hopefully that will work out great. Well, listen, I'm not going to take any more of your time. I thank you for watching. As you are clicking out, if you would not mind, please hit that like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Also, before you go, be sure, if you haven't already, to go to my video on my channel, and that says 400 subscriber giveaway announcement. Watch the video, hit a like. It's not part of it, but since you're there, you might as well, right? But you got to be subscribed to the channel is the first qualification. The second qualification is in the notes there. You've got to put "I want to win" or "I want to win," and that's going to enter you in. Those two things. That's it. Be 18 years or older. But it doesn't matter whether you're in the United States or whether you're across the pond or down under. It doesn't really matter. But either way, you'll be entered to win. And then when we hit 400 subscribers, we're going to be doing some giveaways. If you watch that video, you'll know exactly what those giveaways are. Got some big prizes, several different superhero type giveaways. And so depending on whether you like Spider-Woman, Guardians of the Galaxy, so on and so forth, there's the teaser for watching that video. Be sure to check it out and do the aforementioned items, and you will be entered in. Well, hopefully, I'm not exposing myself to any corona out here in the wild. I know everybody's still kind of acting all crazy and hitting that squish on the hand sanitizer. I was telling the hotel attendants here, I said, it's amazing. The more we progress, the more we regress. I mean, you actually have to ask people, do they wash their hands? What kind of world? Free cinnamon rolls because I'm staying in Holiday Inn because of Corona. I'm not going to my cons because of Corona. Well, in your face, Corona. I'm still going to buy comic books. I'm going to buy somewhere to buy comic books. If it's online, if it's at a YouTube auction, if it's on eBay, whether it's on one of these shops that I visit while I'm out of town, guess what? I'm going to buy comic books. You can't stop me, Corona. So that's enough silliness, right? Thank you again for watching. Until next time, keep reading and keep collecting.